Hello everyone, this is Monica. I'm here with CCC Genesis over here. Say hi. He has cheese in his mouth, so he's not saying hi. I think he wants his cat to say hi, but that's not going to work. Anyhow, this is going to be a deck profile, and this is a very special deck profile because this is for Genesis, or EDH, VDH, Alliance, potatoes, whatever you'd like to say. Regardless, so what I'm showcasing here is the deck that I used during our last couple of matches, and it is a deck that revolves around Alice, the Girl in the Looking Glass, and Sister of Linorsphairia. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Sister of Linorsphairia is a ruler card from the Valhalla block. They are, for the most part, considered to be legal in this particular format. For the most part, though, I figured that these two would have some strong synergies together because Sister of Linorsphairia, you can tap her to look at the top three cards of your stone deck to find a light stone, and that is any sort of light stone. So if it is a dual stone, for example, if it is a light stone in addition to its other types, you can put it onto the field. And this other card here I chose specifically as a mana sink, because on her other side she becomes Alice, the Saint of Healing. Her abilities include you can pay 2 to give something +0 +1,000. You can tap her to give something Shroud, so basically saying that it can't be targeted by spells or abilities. That includes yours as well, so watch out for that. And her God's Art seems really consistent as like a strong draw engine more than something that will grant everything hexproof. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, for a blue and a green, JRS indicators that you control gain Shroud and you draw 3 cards. To round off my discussion for the rulers, the flip side for Linorsphairia is Saul. You may know Saul from the Vengolf 3 set. When he enters the field, resonators you control gain +2/+2, and then just like the 7 Kings cards, you reveal the top stone of your Magic Stone deck, and then you put it into play. As you can see, though,
there's only 2 7 Kings that do that.
Like those 2 7 King cards that you probably are hopefully well aware of. So that aside, I'm going to go into the stone deck. So what we are running, as far as stones go, there is quite a number of basic light stones, because we're going to be drawing into a lot of light, and we want to make sure that we can consistently hit our drops with Linorsphairia, because while she does grant a lot of ramp capabilities, we want to also make sure that we're not flooded with white mana, especially when we're playing a multicolored deck like Alice, the Saint of Healing, which allows us to not only run white, but because of her color identity in this particular format, we can run blue and green as well. So in the spirit of this, I'm also running Stone of the Dragonoids and Magic Stone of Light Vapors for my blue-white fix, as well as Magic Stone of Gusting Skies and Perseus Memoria for my green fix. And as for the rest of my stones, I am running 2 basic water stones because water is rather important in this deck. As you've seen from the video, I do so enjoy playing Alice's World over and over again, and you definitely need blue for that. And lastly, we run Feetsing, the Holy Windstone, as another green source, and to grant our creatures hexproof, i.e. they can't be targeted by effects or abilities that your opponent controls. I'm running this as an extra consistency engine just in case Alice gets knocked out of the fight and we are in need of protection quickly. Now on to the main deck. When I was thinking about this deck, I had several thoughts in mind. More specifically, I was thinking that we can have the deck revolve very largely around Alice's World, because when I made the Alice Saint of Healing deck for the first time in what used to be standard, I try to make it revolve around Alice's world. And in the spirit of that, I decided that I would translate that into Genesis. So with Alice's world as our main win condition, we run Speaker of Creation to bring out, to add the Alice's world to your hand. And we also, more often than not, use her activate ability for paying green to destroy an addition to destroy your own Alice's world. The main reason for this is to use it in conjunction with cards such as Genesis Creation, which puts a creature and an addition from your graveyard onto your field. So you can get another search off of Speaker Creation, and you can activate Alice's World again, as well as Frig, which allows you to add a spell, addition, and resonator from your graveyard into your hand. So usually a normal looping play would involve Speaker Creation into Alice's World, take your extra turn, murder them both, Genesis Creation, bring them back. And then next turn you murder them both again, Frig, add the 3 back, and just continue if possible. And to add to the continuation of such an effect, we also run Dreams of Juliet to either flicker the Speaker of Creation to look for another land, or flicker the Frig to activate those abilities again. And another thing that we use in an effort to continue to recycle Alice's World is Send Back. For 1 blue, you can return target addition, resonator, or regalia to its owner's hand. So for 1 blue, you can leave Alice's World back into your hand and then play it again. Now, being a singleton format, we do need to worry about consistency. So to that end, I am running Morgiana to quickly look through my deck with a variety of draw spells. Those most notably being Play the Foundation, which, while Morgiana is on the field, will allow us to dig 9 cards deep. Cheshire Cat being the very best 1-drop in the game as far as I'm concerned. Will of the Wisp, who is a cantrip in and of herself. When she enters the field, you draw a card. 4C, which nets you 2, but with Morgiana, you basically look at the top 6, and most importantly of all, I feel, is Formant of the World Tree, which is absolutely sickeningly busted with Morgiana, since it allows you to shuffle away any number of cards in your hand onto the bottom of your deck, and then draw that many +1. So if you have a full hand of 6, and in addition to Formant of the World Tree, and you activate it, you essentially look at the top 21 cards of your deck if you have Morgiana, and you gain 8 at the end of that loop. And to add yet further consistency, we do have Faria's Summon. Since we are running green and white, we want to grab the Speaker of Creation as quickly as possible, or Frig to continue the format. We also have Book of Genesis, which in this deck can fall as quickly as turn 2. And while this card is slow, you can almost definitely get Speaker of Creation turn, let's see, 4 if you have this in your opening hand. And more specifically, it makes casting Alice's World a lot easier, since Alice's World, its overall cost is reduced by each resonator you control. If you have Book of Justice out on the field, you'll be getting an extra resonator every turn, which is fantastic, and makes this deck, makes the singleton version of this deck a lot more toolboxy with your larger resonators. We are also running Kaguya's Moonbeam Butterfly to grab whatever permanent we require, whether it be the Speaker of Creation, or if we're really crazy for some reason, Alice's World. And lastly, we have Heavenly Instrument Hydromonica, so that way we can add whatever card we need to the top of our deck and more consistently bring out Alice's World over and over again until we are no longer invited to our good friend's house. So that aside, while this deck is very heavy on its mana usage, and as well as its production, I felt the need to continue adding consistency and mana rocks. More specifically, we are running Ryoma, and House of the Old Man, and Rewriting Laws to add some very much needed consistency. We do have a lot of double blues, double greens, and even a triple green in here. So we want to make sure that we always have the type of mana required to cast our spells. On top of that, we do run mana dorks such as...
This video's gonna have so much background noise because of the cat.
Yes. Goose cat! Anyhow, the Elvis Priest, Beat Sing, and Yggdrasil are all here to be both creatures to reduce the cost for Alice's world, but also to produce mana for us. Although Feetsing has been putting in a lot of work to also pseudo fog as well, so it's also a pretty gosh darn good.
Stop me from killing him.
Absolutely. Also, we have Schrodinger and Ragnite in an effort to have mana rocks available for us to tap for what we require if we are unable to get to any of our other mana fixing cards. So as far as the rest of the deck goes, we also run a large amount of control in the deck. For example, we run Guardian of Altean Law, Tsukiyomi Noble, and Reflect, in an effort to try and stall our opponents. Tsukiyomi is stopping activate abilities. Guardian of Altean Law is essentially saying that only one creature may attack per turn, and Reflect the beginning of time to stack on a lot of counters and basically flip them and destroy everything if things go very much south. Of course, we also have Abel, the Avenger of the Gods, to wipe the board as well, just in case things go completely out of control.
Or to Abel yourself for some reason.
Like yeah, to Abel myself for some reason. That's always
game
fun.
One.
Oh, yes. As far as damage control as well, we are also running Amaterasu's Foresight, since it is a quick cast and prevents damage from that would be dealt by J Resonators this turn. It is a very good card if you need a fog for answers, or essentially give yourself an extra turn if you really need it. As far as things that will protect our own creatures, we do run Realm of Pure Spirits, as well as Wind Secluded Refuge and Breath of the God, in an effort to give them hexproof or make it basically a lot more difficult for our opponents to deal with our creatures, since our creatures do serve as a very strong backbone for our strategy and making Alice's World that much cheaper. We also run Seal of Wind and Light and Zeeks to try and cancel our opponent's spells once we have our board set up. Both of these can very much quickly deal with board wipes, especially when you're dealing with things like a large Abel dropping for pretty much nothing, or a Gil dropping and blowing up all of your things. Of course, we also are running the powerful Class G's tank, which adds a wide variety of different effects, and since we have Sisters of Linorsphairia, we can quickly sink mana into the tank to get passive advantages as well. Beyond that, we also have some disruption in the form of Aqua Magic Tempest, which for 4 bounces everything back to your hand. Well, all resonators on the field back to their owner's hands, rather. So that way it not only disrupts our opponent's plays, hopefully, but it also allows us to continue triggering off of things like Cheshire and Frigg and other such cards. We are also running Shining Strike because it is a cantrip. When you activate it, you draw a card, and it could save us a turn from getting punched into the face by something really big and scary. We also have Apollo Break the Moonblast, which bounces a resonator from the field onto the top of its opponent's deck. Very, very handy. And Fallen Comet, which basically bounces all rested resonators back to their owner's hands, as well as resting all resonators the opponents control. I find, at the very least, thinking that this would be an effective spell, if only for the fact that it rests everything, so we can swing in and hopefully beat our opponents to death while their defenses are down. Beyond that, we also run Horn of Sacred Beasts to recycle our graveyard back into our deck. Interdimensional Vessel Apollo to bounce creatures and reuse their effects, hopefully, as well as Riula. So if anything bad happens to Alice the Saint of Healing, we could bring her back easy peasy. The last section that I paid a lot of attention to would be win conditions or answers, because all the turns in the world really won't mean anything if you're not beating the hell out of your opponents. To that end, we have Celestial Link Seraph, which can bring out Arlo when she enters the field. Both of them are pretty strong flyers, and Arlo is a fantastic utility card. We also have Arthur to basically slaughter their entire field when he taps himself. And he also works very well with Alice's ability, so you can sink in a large amount of mana into making his defense 3,000, 4,000, 10,000. And you can also tap to give him hexproof so that the easier 1 mana answers, such as...
Bear.
Huh?
Bear.
Bear. Such as Bear. That aside, we also have...
That's basically the only answer to him.
At this point, we also have Izanagi to quickly whittle away at our opponent's boards and become pretty gigantic pretty quickly. Gwyber, since we are usually getting free summons off of Book of Genesis, he becomes cheap quickly and will always become a very scary threat. And we have Avatar of the Seven Lands, Alice. She is also quite frightening because since she is essentially a second health bar that can be boosted at will by Alice the Saint of Healing, we could easily make her a 1525, 1535, and suddenly our opponents essentially have to be dealing a utterly ridiculous amount of damage to get through to us. And to that end, we are also running Muse to make sure that our boss monsters are kept properly safe, since we can hopefully prevent damage against them by raising their defense high enough and then just blocking in. And it's always fun to have Muse and Avatar Alice onto the field at the same time, so that your opponent has to deal 16,000 damage in a single swing to deal with our Alice. And the last card that I feel really makes this deck very strong in the late game is the Heart-Stirring Sage, because we can boost our creatures up to an enormous amount by sinking in our mana to give our creatures +0, +1,000, and then we can tap the Heart-Stirring Stage to grant something attack equal to its defense. So we can say give Muse +0, +30, tap, and then suddenly she becomes a 30/30 swinging in face. So those are all of the cards in the deck. If you have any questions, any suggestions, any comments, please let me know. It was a pleasure fighting in front of you all today, and I hope I'll be able to do it again if Brian ever invites me back to his house. Okay, thank you.
You always have
Bye.
the rock.
Huh?
You always have the rock.
I always have the rock. Bye, guys.